Hey everybody, Peshman Gadimi here, back with another exotic car hacks video. Today we are going to look at the one biggest mistake every single person buying a car is making today, literally in America. I mean, I don't care, you're rich, you're poor. If you have ever bought or financed a car, regardless if it's an exotic car, a luxury car, a normal car, you have probably made this mistake, and I want to prevent you from making it again, because not enough people are talking about this. The auto industry is probably going to try to have me killed for this. So what I'm going to reveal to you is going to completely blow your mind. Now, before we get started, if for any reason you like this type of content or you've enjoyed some of my previous content, make sure you subscribe and make sure, please, you take the full training on learning how to own and actually drive, and in many cases profit from owning exotic cars by clicking the link into the bio. There's a full hour-long training that can teach you everything you need to know to at least get started and understand why you need to be joining Exotic Car Hacks and why we're quickly becoming one of the most preferred and largest exotic car owner community out there on the internet. And it's really important for you guys to join us so that you can be in a position to get started when your time comes to own an exotic. So knowledge is power. So here's the one trick every single person has made a mistake for. Have you ever seen ads when it comes to looking on newspapers, TV ads, when it comes to a car? What is the one thing every dealership, every single manufacturer does? They always have an offer for you. And one of the most powerful things about the offer is always that it focuses around one simple thing. Regardless that it's a lease or it's a buy, it's always about the payment. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but dealers and manufacturers love to ask you, how much can you afford by literally tying you down to a payment? And honestly, one of the biggest mistakes people make in this game is walking into a dealership and saying, how much a month will this car cost? Now, I want to tell you about why that is such a huge mistake, and I want you to try to understand and follow me. This is also part of the reason why leasing in itself is a huge scam. As I teach in my community below in the link, you would actually know if you had joined it that leasing is actually draining you of every single dollar. And I want to do the math for you to have you understand how misunderstanding payment can really cost you quite a bit of money. So let's understand what a lease is in general, right? Because most people don't understand what a lease is versus a buy. And I want you to kind of understand that, because we're going to talk about leasing versus buying, but then we're going to talk about leasing versus hacking. Now, leasing, here's the basis of it. You may like the payment. Everybody loves the payment, right? We love $299 a month. We love $699 a month for a Range Rover. We like these things because they make things seem affordable on the surface. But they're not always affordable, and here's why. Let's assume you're buying a Range Rover lease. And a Range Rover lease would range from $799 as a special with $5,000 down. Now, with the lease, what you may not know is that you're buying the worst aspect of a car. So when a lease is close-ended, meaning when you receive the car and you can return it in 3 years without, any questions asked, as long as it's in decent condition, you can give it back to the dealership. That's called a close-ended lease, which means that you're not just getting lease payments, you're actually returning the car. It's like a short-term rental in a way, right? And you're assessing your monthly payment as a way of knowing if you can afford this lease or not. On a special, a base model Range Rover would be a $799 a month payment with $5K down. Now, on the surface, that sounds very attractive because the buy on the exact same car would be like $1,500. And so if you're looking at this, you're probably saying, well, yeah, but now I can afford a Range Rover and I previously couldn't. And this is what dealers are hoping happens, which is why they love advertising this, because it makes you believe you can afford something just because you have enough money to pay for it. Now, here's what happens when people who don't understand money keep falling for these offers. Now, I want to show you this. So if you paid $5,000 in and you have $799 times 36 months. That's crazy, right? That's like a 3-year lease. I'm going to take a look here on my phone. We're going to do the math together. So we have $799, right? And we have 36 months. That means we paid a total of $28,764. You can follow the math if you want on your own calculator, but $28,764 is what we paid. Now, we also added $5K, which was our down payment, and usually an inception fee of some sort, right? Now, we also have, let's say the inception fee is $500. We also have a disposition fee when we return the car of another $500. Now, these are all in your contract. If you haven't looked at that, you can do so. So let's say roughly we have $6,000 here. That would put us roughly at $34,764 is our cost of driving a base model Range Rover here, a base model Range Rover with a lease. Now, you can argue with me that leases have tax write-offs, especially if you own a business, which would mean that you would be usually able to write that off. You would take the $34,000 and write that off. That would give you roughly 20% of the number back in taxes, which would be roughly about $6,000. So your true cost, so minus 6, we're back at the $28,764, and that is our true cost of driving, right? Okay, so $28,764. Now, one of the things I want you to understand is every payment you've made here, you see every $799 you've made, the $500, the $5,000, it's gone. It's gone into the interest portion and into the rental portion of the depreciation of the car. Now, if we were going to buy this car brand new, we would face the exact same issue because the depreciation schedule would be horrible. And so it may make sense for you to do a close-ended lease versus buying a brand new car, especially financing it, right? Because if we're talking about payment, this just seems to make more sense. There's a tax write-off and there's everything else. But here is the context. When you return this car to the dealership, this car is is now at what you consider to be a very favorable residual cost. Now, why is that favorable? Because the car's main depreciation happens within the first 3 years, which is what you paid for, the 36 months, right? So when you return it and the dealer says, listen, this car is now worth $30,000, as an example, then the dealer is saying that now that it's $30,000, you're going to give it back to us, and that's the value we're using. So we're predetermining that ahead of time. One of the things you may not understand is then the dealer, what they do at this point is they add their CPO warranty, which is just pretty much an inspection. They add a $2,000 warranty to it, and then they resell this car not for $30,000, but with, let's say, $42,000 in hopes of making some profit, right? What happens though is you've already spent $28,000, but you're not getting any of the $12,000 they're going to make on your car back. So technically, you've just spent almost $30,000 over 36 months, and that's it. You know, case closed, you lost 30 grand driving a Range Rover, and at that, it was a base Range Rover. But what if you could be the one buying the car here when the lease is returned, with 1 year warranty left, right? And not actually have to lose this depreciation? Then you would technically buy now the same Range Rover here that was $799, you would technically buy it for $30,000. Now, if you were going to buy it for $30,000, remember, the cycle of a Range Rover is roughly 7 years, so it goes 7 years before they change the body. You would technically be buying the latest model Range Rover for a fraction of the cost, right? Still under warranty and still with a decent amount of miles that aren't too high. Now, here's the benefit. If you were able to buy the same car for $30,000, right, instead of the full like $65,000 up here, then technically now your payments on this over 72 months. Now, before you say, well, why would I want to finance that long? Well, you're not going to keep the car that long. It doesn't matter. So because you wanted a lower payment, now you're going to take your 72 months financing, right? And you're going to be roughly at like $500 a month for the exact same car. Now, here's what I want you to understand. This is really important to understand. You see, the car at this point is only going to depreciate another 10% each year. So at this point, your car, the following year, when you're ready to get rid of it, okay, is only going to be worth, as an example, $27,000. When you're looking at this $27,000 here, and you've paid your $500 payments over 12 months, right? That means you've roughly paid, I just want you to understand this, you paid it for 12 months because you kept the car only 1 year. The whole time it was under warranty. You have now paid $6,000 towards the car. About $1,500 of that is interest, and about $4,500 of that is principal. Now I want you to see this. This is really important. Right here, you have $30,000 as starting ground. But by the time you can sell your car for $27,000, this is a normal car, you now have more equity. So technically, you're going to get money back from your payments. So the real cost of ownership for this car for 12 months was just the $3,000 difference between the two payments. And so here is the power of this model, right? Because if we take just $3,000, okay, $3,000 as the potential loss here each and every year, we're incurring a $9,000 loss over 3 years, right? So this $9,000 loss over 3 years, even without any type of tax write-off, is significantly better than your full tax write-off $28,764 loss. for the exact same car that will still look as equally impressive in the years to come. So now, why aren't more people doing this? Because you see, one of the big things they don't understand is that to go through this lease process here at a dealership, it's as simple as walking in, saying you want a lease, not negotiating and everything else, and ultimately walking out thinking you got a better deal because you paid $7.99 a month, and in reality, you lost $30,000. On the other hand, this buy process, buying correctly, negotiating, requiring to understand finance and being pre-approved and pre-ready, and then being in a position to understand where to get long-term loans on luxury cars and everything in between, seems to be very, very difficult. So many people, for the ease and convenience, would rather lose $30,000 on the new car rather than just $9,000 on the exact same car for the same 3-year paths. So you start asking yourself, why does this make any sense to anybody? Well, it doesn't. But the biggest mistake people make is they rely on this one thing that dealers have gotten very good at, which is asking, how much will this car cost per month, instead of how much money will it cost me ultimately during its entire ownership. So if you've enjoyed this little math board and you actually understand how this is possible, I want to teach you how to buy cars not only the appropriate way without going to auctions, I want to teach you how to negotiate them, I want to teach you how to actually get banks to approve you regardless of your credit score, and I want you to actually learn this process because it needs to become part of your life financially to make better financial decisions that are not based on monthly payments, but rather based on actual cost of ownership. Because if we break down the actual cost of the same exact Range Rover here from $30,000 to $9,000 divided by the 36 months, let's do this on a calculator again together. I just want you to understand the true cost here being significantly different. We take this number, 28,764, we divide it by 36, and our true cost again, right here after a tax write-off, is $799, right? On the other hand, though, when we take $9,000 and we divide it by the same 36, our true cost now of driving this car is $250 a month. So when I say, are you ready to drive a Range Rover for just $250 a month, I am saying, do you understand that the cost of a Range Rover bought correctly using the exotic car hacks methodology is only $250 a month versus getting a base model here for $799 a month and $5K down thinking it's a good deal. The baseline here is that you're losing the $799 a month and your down payment versus here you have no down payment and it's only truly costing you $250 a month, even though on the surface it may seem like this is not as good of a bargain as a brand new car for $799. So hopefully you've learned something new and hopefully you're actually going to make better financial decisions moving forward by actually taking the training in the link in the bio. If you're in the US, if you're in Canada, if you're in the UK, you need to learn these strategies because car dealers have made enough money on us. And time to actually reverse the table, be educated consumers, make better decisions, and realize that exotic cars are within reach, so are luxury cars, because Exotic Car Hacks works on exotics, luxury cars, and specialty cars like M-Powers, AMGs, and everything in between. You don't need to buy a $300,000 car to drive a luxury car. Many exotics start as low as $20,000 and as low as $300 a month. And so anyone can drive an exotic, and life is too short to drive boring cars. Subscribe, click the like button, and I'll catch you on the next video of Exotic Car Hacks.